Welcome to AngryGeek podcast, where we break down complex tech topics and make them accessible to everyone. I'm your host, Piotr and with me today is my amazing co-host, Manu Kumar. In this episode, we will be talking about virtualization for beginners. We will cover everything from the history of virtualization to the best practices for using it. So, without further ado, let's dive into it.
So we already using virtualization in IT from couple of decades. So the main intention of using virtualization in IT to properly utilize the hardware that will also bring give you hardware in efficient way, and we can also like in the more cost efficient way. What your take on this?
Yeah, right. So to virtualization is to make something virtual, either the hardware or network, and make it more efficient. So this is the virtualization in a nutshell. Um, yeah, maybe we should go and talk about the history of virtualization. We can backdate virtualization up to 1960s, when the IBM first introduced its way to improve resources utilization to the mainframe. So they present the first virtual machines in the one mainframe computer. In the 90s, virtualization technologies began to emerge for the x86 architecture, which is used in most PCs and servers. Companies such as VMware, Connetics, and Microsoft developed virtual machine software that allowed multiple operation systems to run on a single physical machine. In the early 2000s, VMware introduced its first enterprise-class virtualization platform called VMware ESX Server. This allowed multiple virtual machines to run on a single physical server, each with its own operating system and applications. This platform became a foundation of modern virtualization industry and was widely adopted by enterprise around the world. Today, virtualization is a mature technology that is widely used in data centers, cloud computing, and the desktop virtualization. And it's considered a key technology for modern IT infrastructure. Um, Maybe, Emmanuel, tell us why the virtualization is important.
Yeah, the basically we already have the hardware, but we are unable to utilize that hardware at its full potential. So that's the reason we can use the virtualization so that we can utilize the hardware more efficiently. And if we see the ratio of the cost per hardware ratio, so if we do the virtualization, we can better utilize the hardware and we can better utilize our money in order to build that. And we also talk about the types of virtualization. We already have lots of types of virtualization, like we have the server virtualization, we have the desktop virtualization, we have the application virtualization that we can do at the application level, we have the storage and then virtualization as well.
Yeah, that's right. It also enables greater flexibility and agility. With virtualization, you can quickly deploy and manage more applications, scale resources up and down, and even migrate virtual machines between different hardware platforms.
And now let's talk about the types of virtualization. Previously, um, we also cover the types of virtualization, that is like the server virtualization, application virtualization. But what actually the type also, like we have the full virtualization, we have the para virtualization, we have the hardware system virtualization, and we also have the containerization. It's kind of a new term. So what's your take on the full virtualization?
Yeah, sure. So full virtualization is a type of virtualization which allows multiple virtual machines to run on a single physical machine, with each virtual machine running its own complete operating system, also applications. Full virtualization, it simulates the underlying hardware, including the CPU, memory, and I/O devices. which allows for higher degree of isolation between the virtual machines.
Yeah, and now let's we talk about the para virtualization. In para virtualization, the virtual machine are aware that they are running in the virtualized environment and are modified to work efficiently in that environment. This type of virtualization allow for a better performance and resource utilization than the full virtualization, but require the guest operating system to be modified to work with the virtualization environment. And after that, we have the hardware virtualization. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so this is the specific type of virtualization where yeah, when hardware support such as the Intel VTX or IDMV to improve the performance and efficiency of virtual machines. Hardware-assisted virtualization allow virtual machines to run more efficient and with less overhead than traditional full virtualization. It also allows us to use our own machines as a hypervisor, which means that in the easy and cost-efficient way, you can build your own virtual environment on the laptop or desktop you have at home. Um, this is great for starting with virtualization, and this is great to get familiar with the virtualization.
Yeah, I guess like if you're starting or if you're starting learning virtualization, then hardware assist virtualization will be a great start. And also like there is a new term called containerization. Like we are using this from a decade now, but it is getting properly in the recent year itself. So containerization is like it is a lightweight form of virtualization that allow multiple applications to run on a single host operating system, with each application running its own isolated container. Unlike traditional virtualization, container does not stimulate hardware, which make it more lightweight and efficient. And in this case, like it, it it does not have its own operating system. Like it is using the host OS kernel in order to process everything.
Yes, and if you start in the virtual world, you need to know that we are talking about the two types of virtualization. So it's type 1 and type 2. So the difference are, and this is every single interview question. So the type 1 virtualization, also known as bare metal virtualization, runs directly on the host machine's hardware and allows multiple VMs, which is virtual machines, to run directly on the hypervisor. And the example of the type 1 virtualization are, for instance, VMware ESXi, Microsoft Hyper-V, or Citrix Hypervisor. Um, so, in simple terms, you have to have a server which you installing the hypervisor, and then on the hypervisor you running your virtual machines. Would you like to talk about the type 2?
Yeah, definitely. So in the type 2 virtualization, we already have like instead of hypervisor, we have the host operating system. Over that, we have the hypervisor. So that hypervisor can be anything like Oracle, VirtualBox, VMware Workstation, VMware Fusion. We have Parallel as well. So we can use those software top up our host operating system, and over there we can create virtual machine. This is not like if you talk about the hardware efficiency wise, so this is not as efficient as the type 1 hypervisor. But if you're starting with the virtualization, then type 2 virtualization will work great. And now let's talk about the benefits of the virtualization. So like we have the cost saving, we have the increased efficiency and the productivity. And what else you can like have for the benefits of virtualization?
Of course, we have to remember about improved security and simplified management. So, in the one pane of view, one glass of view, you can have all your servers. So, let's say if we're using VMware products, we have vCenter, and the vCenter is a management tool when you can see all your hosts, all your classes, and VMs in one place. So, if you have a computer in Japan and another is in Spain, on the US, you can have it in the one management system. It's easy and more efficient to manage.
Let's suppose if you have an organization, or if you have a small enterprise and you want to start with a virtualization. So what will be your take, like how you can the virtualization? Let's suppose you have a big tier organization, how you can start with a virtualization?
So it depends on the size, or if you have actually startup, or you have a company, or you're a student at home. The first thing you need to choose your platform, and the easiest to start off would be my choice would be VMware products and VMware virtualization. So we have vSphere or home virtualization. And if you want to build your own home lab to start with virtualization, then please read my blog, angrysysops.com/homelab. I will guide you through the process of setting this up. And this is the simplest lab ever because it's based on my own laptop. I'm running all my virtual machines on my laptop. Now, if you're the middle organization or bigger organization, you have to choose your hardware first. So you have to choose from HPE or Dell or Lenovo, and then you have to choose your partner for hypervisor. So you can again choose VMware, Microsoft, or other partners. Eventually, if you are just starting and you don't want to go in the cost for the hardware, you can go to a cloud. A cloud virtualization is the same concept as we talked about before. However, you don't need to worry about the hardware. The hardware you pay the cloud operator like AWS or GCP or Azure to maintain your hardware. So this is pros and cons to going for the cloud, but this is your options.
Yeah, like if you're going with in-house environment or like on-premises environment, then you need to plan a lot of things. Like you need to think about the management, you need to think about the space, you need to think about the money aspect as well, because in order to purchase those servers, you need to set up those networking, you need the money. But if you're going with a cloud way, it is pretty much simple. Let's suppose if you're thinking at night at 2 a.m. that okay, let's build a startup, you just need to log into the AWS, you need to rent the server, and zoop zap zoop, you're good to go. But if you're going with the on-premises approach, you need to think, you need to plan a lot about that. And once you have like your virtualization setup, you have your environment setup, then you can run your you can run your virtual machine. Like you need a domain controller, you need a DNS server. Let's suppose if you're building out your website, then you need a web server as well. For that, you need a load balancer, and there are lots of things that will join. And for that, once you have your virtual machine set up, you will think about the software that you're planning to install over there after selecting the operating system. And then you can configure those machines. Is there anything else that you want to add, Peter?
Yeah, no, it's good summarization. Like, we will not get deep into the setting up your environment.
Yeah.
However, like this is just a high level of overview of virtualization. And again, if you have any questions or comments, you can ask us or through the Twitter or through our social medias. If you want to start your home lab, again, please visit my blog angrysysops.com/homelab. And yeah, let's go further. What would you say are best practice like for backing up or monitoring or maintaining virtual machines?
Yeah, like if you want to plan for a monitoring, so in the ESXi we already have the monitoring functionality inbuilt, so you can monitor using that. But if you want like a bit advanced monitoring system, then probably you will get something like Prometheus. You can set up that in your environment and you can start monitoring that. And the monitoring is only the one part. You also need to come up with a backup plan or a disaster recovery plan, so that at any point of time something happened to your environment, you have that backup in place so that you restore your environment. What's other thing that you need in order for the best practice or the virtualization?
Yeah, so as backup, there's a few options. There are software companies which offer the backup, and quite few of them on the market. The most important thing to know is that many people get confused. Are snapshots. So the snapshots are not the backups, and this is very important thing. And the snapshots are not the backups. And we will talk about the snapshots in the later on the later stage. The thing is that's important for backing up. Not all, you don't need to back up every single machine. You just need to back up what is important for you. So like appliances, maybe you can back up the finance machines, or some critical machines. I wouldn't do and go for every single one.
Like there are lots of common virtualization use case. Let's suppose you have your testing and development environment. You can build your environment so that you can test your code over there. And
Yeah.
what else, like this, like the server
There's a
console?
few.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a few, as you said. We can test and develop. So we can test in our environment, and if something doesn't work, we can just quickly destroy that machine and rebuild it with no time. And there's no there's no stops in the development or in the production. And the reason is like if something goes wrong, you just like destroy and rebuild, and that's quickly. The server consolidation that allows multiple virtual machines to run on single physical machine. That's the concept of virtualization. Uh, by consolidating servers onto virtual machines, organization can improve resource utilization and reduce the number of physical machines need to support the infrastructure, which meaning like that you can run 3 or 5 or 10 servers on the one physical server and share their resources, the physical server resources, to all those machines. And this is also cost saving. Disaster recovery, it allows organization to create and maintain virtual replicas of the production system in a secondary location. So let's say one data center, I don't know, will be earthquake or some disaster, you can very quickly switch to another one, and without much of the data loss. Cloud computing, so cloud computing allows for efficient allocating computer resources among multiple customers. Virtualization enables to create virtual machines, virtual networks, and storage, which can be dynamically provided and scale up or down as the company needs. And the great example of that is a Netflix. When they actually rebuilt AWS, they running on AWS, but they did their own infrastructure. And let's say if there's a Christmas period, they know they need to scale up very quickly because more people will be watching the Christmas movie, and then after they're scaling down. This is beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. And let's talk about the challenge of the virtualization. So there are lots of security risks. Like if you're building your environment by yours. So let's suppose if you're building your environment, then you need to place lots of security things so that your data cannot be breached. Like virtualization can introduce new risks such as potential for the unauthorized access to the virtual machine, the risk of hypervisor exploit, comparison multiple virtual machine, and the challenges of securing the virtual infrastructure environment itself. It is important for organization to implement robust security measures such as network segmentation, access control, virtual machine hardening, to mitigate that risk. And also, I guess every user like they have the role based access for the every virtual machine, so that like every user don't have access for every virtual machine. They have
Yeah.
the boundaries set up already.
Yeah, but I think that's the same to goes to like traditional model as well. You have to implement those security risks as well. So I don't think so that actually virtualization is different than the traditional model.
Yeah, like everywhere, you need to you need to think about the security,
Yes,
because it
of course.
it is one of the important aspect.
Yes, yes. So what else? We can have a look on the resource management. So we know that virtual machines share the resources such as a CPU, memory, and storage, sometimes GPU. So effective resource management strategies such as load balancing, resource pooling, and dynamic relocate resources allocation are important to ensure optimal performance and availability.
Yeah, definitely. For the resource management, let me just add a story over here.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess for that it's couple of year back when I was still working as a storage engineer over there. So the customer is not monitoring his environment very efficiently. So um, he went on a vacation, and he did not stop. He is not using any proper tool for the monitoring. And what happened? Um he he like the threshold of the storage got full, and now now his user is trying to access the data, and the request is bouncing off because there is no available data
Storage
is
size.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no available storage left in the server, and it's bouncing of the request. Then like it totally it ruined the vacation of my customer, and later on he opened a ticket, and he stated me like this is the issue and they're fighting. Then after, like, I managed that, like we deleted the old customer data. And in this case, after everything comes up, so I suggested him for a great to have a proper monitoring tool setup and alarm setup, so that if you're going your threshold, so you get an email or something, so that you have everything well planned.
Yeah.
And with that, we also have like the compatibility issue as well, because if you are building your environment, you have to make sure everything is compatible enough, because you don't want you paid your money and later on you like things are not working. So you need to also think about the compatibility part as well. What
Yes.
else in the challenge part, Yoda?
Yeah, I can add only to resources management. What you said about the storage, I had a story as well. One of the VMs when actually left running on the snapshot, and this was very high I/O VM, and the space went like very quickly ran out, and the VM stopped working. And to restore that VM, we have over 24-hour downtime because deleting that snapshot took ages. Yes, one more thing we need to have a look is licensing and compliance. So, virtualization can create complex licensing and compliance issues, particularly for the software that is licensed based on number of physical machines it is installed on. So you have to review your license agreement and implement some mechanisms to ensure that compliance with a software vendor. Licensing process, but it's not only again virtualization problem, but the licensing generally is very complicated and it's not straightforward. And sometimes people just open tickets just for the licensing type of questions. But I think that's what we cover in this particular subject. I don't think there's any more like challenges.
Yeah, we
For the
already
high level
covered most.
overview,
So
yeah, no. So I said for this high overall overview, I think that's everything what the beginner needs to know about the virtualization.
yeah, definitely. Like you already covered the high level things about the virtualization. If you're starting with the virtualization and if you're starting with the IT, you can definitely look this up. And later on, you can refer other VMware resources. You can also refer our blogs like Corp IT, and you can also go to the angrysystems.com, so that you have more knowledge about the virtualization, and you can slowly, steadily start learning. Is there any other resource that you want to point out?
The VMware website itself is very good. You can find some free labs as well. But again, like if you want to start with it with our blogs and the home lab sections, you will get all the knowledge you need to know. The VMware offers free licenses or 60-day licenses as well. There is a VMUC program. VMUC is the community, VMware community program when it's paid program. However, if you pay, I think it's about $200. Now you can
Yeah.
get 360 days licenses for everything you need to know, you need to use. So you will get a hypervisor license, you will get the virtual machines license and vSphere license. You can get some backup partners licenses. So it's a very good program. It's a vMook Advanced. Just Google that. And yeah, I think that's it. Guys, if you have any questions or comments, please refer to our blogs and social medias. And I think that's it for today's episode.
So that's all for today. If you're having anything, just reach out to us, and we'll see you in the next one. Till the
Yeah,
time, peace.
thank you. Thank you for tuning in and
Yep.
see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.